Zoom? No? Okay, good and welfare is closed. Mr. Schwartz, would you like to start us off, sir?
This is my third or fourth time in 12 years going through this process. Thank you everyone for coming out. Whatever people said, they said it respectfully, and I thank everyone else for listening respectfully, jeering and cheering. We've been through that before, and I appreciate everyone saying that. I just want to make it really clear. If anyone accused anyone of anti-Semitism, that's not something I feel, not something I condone as well. I just want to make sure I repeat that for everyone up here. I've been appointing people to the planning boards for approximately 11 or so years. I don't care what color you are. I only care about the color shovel you want to use. I am pro-development. Look at the charts, look at the spreadsheets. I'm sure both Mr. Kaplan and Mr. Abbott have the spreadsheets of every person I've appointed. I only care about development. And as I was accused of only appointing people that think like me, absolutely correct. This town needs development. Last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we did a $10 million bond that'll cost us about $1 million a year to service. 329 Alfred Avenue, next to Margaret Baker's house on Route 4, will bring us $1 million a year. If we don't build that building, we need to bring $1 million in from your pockets. Just a reminder, Ms. Baker, our manager has written you numerous letters. We've had numerous meetings to discuss the project over many, many years. You can always reach out to me if you'd like to discuss the project and the development more. Just a reminder that there was this process that Mr. Sohn, Mr. Powers, frequently brought to our attention that we should be doing. There's a new council majority. I wish them the best of luck. And I think and I've spoken to them, and I think the concept is the process. We have a very good list of people who both served on the boards and a good list of people who are nominated. However, some people I have not met. People tonight discussed the resumes of people who were nominated. I've seen Mr. Harley once or twice before in public. I've never seen his resume. I have no idea. I believe he was an entertainment lawyer, and I'm sure he's a very good entertainment lawyer. But to sit here and say an entertainment lawyer is great for our planning board, I don't know. I've been doing development for years. I don't understand that. Mr. Shaikh from the New York City Department of Buildings, phenomenal. Mr. Brown, I love Hoboken. Excellent. Mr. Klatsky, love it. Mr. Ilyas, I don't know who you are. I've never seen you. I've never met you. I haven't got your resume. I haven't interviewed you. I believe on LinkedIn you may work for BlackRock as a financial advisor. I've heard good things about you from Mr. Al-Karyani, and that's excellent. But I haven't ever seen you. I don't know how I can vote for you. Looking who else is here? Lucretia Ortiz. I haven't seen your resume. I've seen you speak in person. Phenomenal speaker. I mean, a powerhouse. I think you'd be great in town. I haven't interviewed, haven't spoke to you as it relates to development. So I think let's focus on and many of you are new. That's excellent. You have great futures ahead of you. Please work on this process. It can be a process that I may feel I followed, or a process that you may feel I didn't follow that you said you will follow, and that's fine. Let's work on that process. I look forward to continue to work with everyone so we can move Teaneck forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Ms. Belcher.
Okay, I want to thank my neighbors for coming out tonight and for calling in tonight. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for your passion for our township. Just a couple of quick notes. I want to also thank the township for sponsoring the small business event. I do encourage people to listen to the video if you haven't weren't able to attend. Also, I just want to mention that the ADU initiative that our new attorney is researching is really also to support multi-generational living. So it's not just for Airbnb or anything like that. It's for a multi-generational living. I also want to say thanks to my colleagues for approving the idea of dedicating the new band shell to our esteemed Senator Loretta Weinberg. The poet laureate, thank you, Mayor Mike. I think it was a phenomenal idea, and I'm super excited that Scott Pleasant is our first inaugural poet. Thanks to the residents for participating in the master plan meeting. I think it was a huge success. I also want to thank the Juneteenth celebration committee for the events. I hear they were awesome. I was with you in spirit, but I was bodily on vacation in Martha's Vineyard. I was not afforded a couple of things I just want to mention about the purpose as to why most of you are here tonight. We have had to make some serious decisions. I want to commend the subcommittee, the personnel subcommittee, on making the decisions, doing the heavy lift of interviewing. There were spreadsheets, there were resumes. I kind of burdened Doug many times for the spreadsheet in resumes. So it was afforded me the opportunity to reach out to those that had applied to do my own research, and which I did. I feel as if we have one of the most diverse lineup of residents in Teaneck's history when it comes to diversity serving on land use boards. We are faced with crafting a new master plan, deciding on development that is generational in scope. Our township has been plagued with litigation, settlement agreements, questionable site plans that our land use boards have done a poor job with. The use of development tools like AI and NAR has been problematic. And we have had to look at all these issues in scope, and we've had to make decisions. And I believe that we're making the best decisions when it comes to individuals that are credentialed, that are qualified. I think the process is concise. In fact, I think the process, having lived through a process, I think it's been the best process that we could have asked for. I can speak for Howard Rose, who basically thought about the thoughts of the lack of process during your removal from the planning board. If memory serves me right, I don't believe that there was a process then. Okay, I don't believe you were afforded an interview when your term expired. So I don't know why there's an expectation today. I believe that, for instance, when we speak about process, even since I've been sitting here, we had an appointment to the Board of Adjustment, Victoria Wilkerson. I don't remember any council-wide interview. I was not a party to that. There was nothing that offered that to me. So when we speak about process, I'm wondering, why are we in process now? and we have never been in process before. The personal subcommittee, in my opinion, has done an extraordinary job in planning and interviewing and pulling together talents within our town that's able to serve our town. And ultimately, the hope is that our township is served. Not developers are served, but our township is served. Our residents are served. Housing issues are solved within our community. When we talk about our business downtowns, our 4 business districts, we're addressing those issues. So I want to here again say, I think the process was concise, it was comprehensive, and I'm super excited to be serving new members on our land use board.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. Ms.
Thank you.
Morgan?
So I'd like to thank everyone who came out tonight, those who stayed with us till the end and those who were not as strong and went home, and those that are watching. And if it was your first time, I hope that you continue to join us going forward. I'd like to thank the members of the land use boards who are not being reappointed. I'd like to thank Tony Parker and Mark Zamek, Jennifer Prince, Daniel Wetrin, and Mark Mermelstein. You did nothing wrong. You just weren't reappointed, but we thank you for your service, for all that you've done, for meetings that go as late as this one, where you leave your families and don't spend the time with them that you're spending with us and working for the town. I'd like to thank Rabbi Friedman and Rabbi Schreier. For those who don't know them, they're 2 of the most remarkable men that I've ever met. They have houses full of young children as well, and they felt it important to come out tonight to try to bridge a divide and explain in their own ways. They're brilliant and caring and compassionate to explain in their own ways what they're feeling and what they think people are feeling right now. And absolutely, I believe that there is a lot of work to be done within the community, because from this vantage point tonight, it seems like a front of the room, back of the room divide. And I think there's a lot more that we agree upon than we don't agree upon. There were a lot of words tonight: transparency, dialogue, working together, a house divided. We're not working together. I thank the personnel subcommittee for all the work that they did. I know how hard it can be. We don't go to the zoning subcommittee when we want information on zoning. They give us a report, they come to us and they explain. And when the personnel subcommittee was appointed and when they conducted interviews, I had hoped that this was something that we could discuss together in closed session. We can go through the one interview that didn't happen, people that weren't interviewed. But at the end of the day, we met Mr. Shake. He came to us and we interviewed him. We all know Chris Brown. I had the opportunity this week to speak to Mr. Klatsky. And for us as a council to get to know the people that we're appointing could probably allow us to avoid a lot of what's going on here. I've not had the opportunity to speak to Ms. Ortiz, Mr. Harley, or Mr. Munoz. I would love to have that opportunity, but something's not right here. The fact that a nomination is being had without even allowing us to sit in the room with them and see what they have to offer, something is wrong with that process. And I don't really understand, and I'm going to keep bothering the attorney, though I really do like him, why these interviews are not happening in front of full council. If they are not because of an ordinance or something that's written in the code, then let's change it. But there's no reason why 3 members of council should speak to people in an interview and then 7 are expected to vote on them. I don't like the process of jumping people. I don't like it at all. You're put on one of these boards as an alternate because the learning curve is huge no matter where you're a planner or where you come from. Things are done a certain way here. And if that's something that we could put into code, I would love to do that as well. But I think this is something that we need to discuss as a council. If I were going to start with the 6 candidates, I would absolutely want to put Mr. Brown and Mr. Shake and Mr. Klatsky on the planning board, others on the board of adjustment to learn and work there. But again, I haven't met the others, but we have 2 planners sitting here, and I don't remember Mr. Shake's title, but seemed to me like he would have been a good fit for the planning board. I wish to congratulate Scott Pleasance and also to thank you for the work that you do on behalf of our veterans and our Patriotic Observance Advisory Board. We're so glad to have you here. And just a shout out to Scott and Doug and Kristen for all the work on the Oprahs. I know that that's something that will the individual residents of the town will appreciate. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Ms. Goldberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first, I would like to thank Mayor Pagan for keeping his word with his public apology that he made to Councilwoman Belcher on January 3rd after the prior council did not reappoint her because she ran against them. At that same meeting, Councilwoman Romney Rice couldn't even get a second for when she renominated Ms. Belcher for her seat. Thank you to Mr. Zamek, Mr. Parker, Mr. Wetrin, Ms. Prince, Mr. Mermelstein, the current outgoing members of the Planning and Zoning Board. Thank you to Mr. Rose, and thank you to Ms. Belcher for your service prior as planning board members. Teaneck is one of Bergen County's most diverse communities, and it's important that we have representation that reflects the entire community. And this is especially true on our land use boards, where the members of the Planning Board and Board of Adjustment make critical decisions on the future of our township. There were 6 seats that are expiring this June. The 6 open vacancies were announced to the public. Word spread via the township website, through emails, and on several different online groups and email lists reaching residents townwide. All 41,000 residents were eligible to apply, including those whose terms were ending, and the clerk sent out invitations for 32 applicants that had applied over the last 3 years, a practice that the prior council did not do. And 16 candidates who responded to the request were interviewed in depth. Any member of this council was free to meet with those candidates. Deputy Mayor Katz had me interview Victoria Wilkerson, who was appointed in January by this council, in a coffee shop. She was not interviewed by the full council that appointed her. With the resolution being made tonight, there is an all-star team of 6 of the most qualified appointments in township history. Among them are 2 city planners, 2 attorneys, an engineer, and a finance professional, and I'm proud to support every one of those nominations. The makeup of the new planning board will have 4 Jewish men, 4 Black men, 1 Black woman, and a Latina. And the Board of Adjustment will include 5 Jewish men, 2 Muslim men, 2 African American women, 1 white male, 1 Black male, a beautiful representation of our diversity and qualified appointees. Every resident, every voter, no matter who they voted for, deserves a seat at every table, and different voices, whether in support or opposition, must be heard. That is what we fought for on January 3rd and will continue to fight for every day. Every resident needs to see that they and their neighbors have a seat at the table. And starting July 1st, we will have the most diverse, the most qualified, and the most representative land use boards in Teaneck history.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Mr. Katz?
First, I'd like to congratulate Scott on the well-deserved position, and also thank you very much for all your hard work for the veterans. I have to tell you, I wasn't sure what I was going to say tonight. Still probably I'm not sure, so I'll just let it roll. I'm a little sad, to be honest with you. You know, the reality is that we all live in this town, and you know, the town is becoming more divided, and I want to be part of the solution. I recognize certainly that over the years, you know, I can't always get it right, and I'm sure there have been missteps that were made. I think some of the main issues tonight was that it's clear that there were missteps, and we were just asking for some more transparency, some interviews. My original comment about the working together and compromise, I think leadership actually does start up here. I think one of the big issues is that there is no real trust amongst this council between us. There's only a few council members that have made real attempts to work together. And I applaud and thank those council members. But I think if we're going to be leaders in the community, we all have to try to work a little harder together and build that trust. And I think that will start resonating in the community. You know, as far as the people that were nominated, you know, I've always tried to make it a policy, and I'm sure the people that have the statistics will tell you to not sit here and attack volunteers. I really appreciate the volunteers in this town. So I'm not going to vote against the volunteers. I may abstain, but I do believe that specifically, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that we have this litigation going on with the Board of Adjustment, and the fact that these 3 have taken a personal hit, there's no better way to say it, by being sued personally. You know, it's not a question of being of deserving. It's a question of almost like a slap in the face by saying, okay, you take a personal lawsuit for the township of Teaneck, and now we're not reappointing you, or however you want to articulate it. And also, I'm concerned about, you know, the repercussions that this will have or could have to the taxpayers and this suit. Granted, nobody has a crystal ball. We hope for the best, but that was certainly a good reason to reappoint the Board of Adjustment members. But going back to my initial point, it's obvious that they're not going to have the support. Based on hearing the comments tonight, like I said, I'm not going to vote against the people that were nominated. And I know a few of them. Some of the ones that I know, spectacular, are good choices, very good choices. And I just hope that we can learn from this. And as I think the last speaker mentioned about the optics, and hopefully we can grow from this and be better, working stronger together for a better Teaneck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Before we continue on, can we please have a motion to extend the meeting until midnight?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. First, I would like to thank the dozens of residents who volunteer their time to serve on our statutory and advisory boards. I especially would like to thank Tony Parker, Mark Zomick, Mark Mermelstein, Jennifer Prince, and Daniel Wetrin, whose terms on the Planning Board and Board of Adjustment are set to expire on July 1st. We are incredibly grateful for your service and your commitment to the township. I also want to thank the new nominees who have stepped up to serve. Chris Brown, who's here. Hi, Chris. Lacria Ortiz, who's also here. Hi, Lacria. Muiz Ilias, Michael Klatsky, and Shakat Sheikh. I think they're going to be wonderful additions to our land use boards. Second, I want to address the allegations of anti-Semitism that have been circulated on social media and other media outlets. And even today, I heard false statements hinting at anti-Semitism. The one quote I heard, only 3 Orthodox members of the boards were thrown off the boards. Now, this is not factual for 2 reasons. 1, no one has been forcibly removed. All members have terms expiring. And 2, no one cherry-picked, right? All expiring members were not renewed, including an African-American and a Muslim resident. These kind of misleading statements are truly inflammatory. And like Paula said earlier, stir up hatred and anger. I ask you all to be very mindful and question what you are reading in the media and what you are hearing around town. These statements aim to divide us when our goal is trying to bring us all closer together. This council is committed to ensuring that every community has a voice without prejudice. I made a promise to this township when I ran for election that I would ensure that all voices would be represented on our advisory and statutory boards. I want to thank Rabbi Friedman for his thoughtful comments, but I also want to address one thing he said. I do not believe, and certainly none of us ever meant to imply, that any of our current board members are acting with prejudice against any one demographic in town. What I do acknowledge, though, is that to be human is to have implicit bias. We all do. To be human is to have blind spots. We all do. We do. It's a fact. I, as a right-handed person, can't speak to the experience of a left-handed person. I just can't because I don't live that life. I, as a biracial African-American Christian, no matter how well-intentioned, I will never know as much about the Orthodox experience as someone who is a member of that community. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that. It's okay to acknowledge that we have biases, unintentional biases. It's okay to acknowledge that we have blind spots, unintentional blind spots.
There are nationwide studies that indicate diverse teams outperform homogeneous teams. They bring a breadth of perspectives that lead to innovation and strategic problem solving. And I think that is what we want for our town. We are a diverse town. Everyone should have representation. So let me address the optics comment. I'm a numbers person, so let's look at the numbers. In Teaneck, people of color make up 59% of the population, yet on one of our land use boards, they only made up 27%. With the latest nominations, we will have the most diverse land use boards ever, with 50% of the board members representing people of color, which includes African Americans, Latinos, and Asian residents. And these future land use boards will also include 41% representation from the Jewish community. Let me repeat that number, 41% representation from the Jewish community. I've heard people saying that there will be 0% representation of the Jewish community. That is just false. And so I just wanted to make that crystal clear that everyone will have representation on these new boards. I also want to be crystal clear, and I know others have said it, that these new board members represent more than just diverse demographics. They are extremely qualified. 2 municipal planners, 2 attorneys, an engineer, and a financial professional. I'm very, very confident that their skill sets will more than qualify them to serve. Finally, I want to address the questions surrounding process and procedures. We sought guidance from legal counsel every step of the way to ensure that we were acting in accordance with the statutory guidelines. In addition, we followed what we believe to be precedent from previous council majorities. That said, while we followed procedure and while we follow precedent, I truly believe that we can and we should do so with more grace going forward. It does not matter to me that Howard Rose did not get that grace. It does not matter to me that Denise Belcher did not get that grace. We as a council need to recognize and acknowledge the mistakes of the past and do better. I hear all of you and I thank all of you for coming and sharing your concerns. As a personnel subcommittee member, I pledge to work with the subcommittee members and the full council to investigate ways in which we can be more transparent and more courteous of each other and all volunteer board members going forward. Thank you. Finally, 2 more things. Big congratulations to Scott Pleasance. I could not think of a person more deserving and more accomplished to be our first poet laureate. So thank you for stepping up. And finally, I hope all of you will join us to celebrate Independence Day on the 4th of July at our annual 4th of July parade. I will be there with my family and I hope to see you all there too. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor G. First and foremost, thank you to all of our residents for coming out tonight and participating. When it comes to our 2 land use boards, the fact is that this was more of a transparent process for the public than we have ever done before in Teaneck. Previously, the township never sent out public notices before for land use boards to encourage applications. We would for advisory boards, but not for statutory boards like planning and zoning. Mr. Roussillon sent out notices to absolutely everyone who has applied in the last 2 years, including Mr. Kaplan, and we received 16 requests for interviews. In previous years, the council would interview exactly as many people as there were spots open because we didn't advertise it. So the council members would get whoever they wanted to fill the seats to apply and nobody else. And they would only do interviews for some, not all, new members and not anybody who was being renewed for another term. And that's not transparency. It was easy for them to interview the 2 people who applied in closed session and spend 10 minutes on the whole thing because they knew what they were going to do before they even got into the room to interview these folks. It's just not practical to interview 16 or more people in closed session with all of the council members. Every member of the council here had plenty of knowledge about who was going to be nominated and had opportunities to interview them. Deputy Mayor G made her nominations public at the last meeting, and Mr. Salmon specifically advised everyone here at this meeting that they could nominate whoever else they wanted. Nobody did, and that was their choice. Any member of council could have interviewed or spoken with any of the nominees at any point in the last 2 weeks. They could have asked for their resumes, and there are several council members who have been here long enough to know exactly how this works. They knew they were entitled to do that, but they chose not to do it so they could try to score some political points. Instead of them demanding answers about process and procedure, they should be asked to answer why they didn't make any nominations of their own until tonight and why they chose not to interview any of the nominees. But with that said, I do want to thank everyone who served and everyone who did apply. Mr. Manager, it's getting late. Do you want to say, because I know a couple of residents asked about a couple different things.
Sure, just quickly about CSX. Again, there's no one in this room that's more